It's finally time to expose the truth. We all know that Game Freak has been fumbling on their games for the past decade. Pokemon games like Sword and Shield are completely trash. However, we try to validate it once a new game comes out that's even worse. Now, it is safe to say that Pokemon video games are a bit underdeveloped, but that's why we're not talking about these. Instead, we're going to talk about the games that they continue to nail. The Pokemon trading card game. So if you want to hear about the Pokemon trading card game as someone that's not necessarily a pro, well, you found the right video. Now, before we get started, if you like this content, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It helps me a ton to push out videos to you. And with that, let's get started. For all Pokemon fans, it's hard to realize that there's more than just the video games. And it's not that Game Freak doesn't advertise the trading card game, it's just the fact that we only care about the game sometimes. While Game Freak has been doing a very good job of fumbling every chance they get, they haven't been fumbling on the trading card game. You'll still see commercials advertising the trading card game every now and then. But unfortunately, as people get older, they tend to phase away from the trading cards. But no, not today. Instead, we're going to talk about the series that some people have forgotten about. And to be completely honest, it's still maybe better than the video games. First, let's take a look at how you even play the trading card game to begin with. Pokemon TCG is pretty simple and it works similar to the video games. You start off by drawing your hand and you play with 6 Pokemon. 1 Pokemon up front that you'll fight with and the other 5 that are in the back. Unlike some other TCGs, your job is not to take down life points. So instead of beating your opponent senseless by a number value, instead you'll have to pay attention to what they have. Your job is to either take out the Pokemon they have available, or you can play the long game and stop them from having any more cards to draw. Now, your deck should be pretty wealthy. Instead of having a bunch of different Pokemon inside the deck, you'll have a lot of supporting cards. Of course, most of these cards are meant to help you get an advantage during the game, but your other goal is to get energy cards. A better phrase for you video game Pokemon players is just PP. These cards will help you do damage to other Pokemon and knock them out. And as you can assume, you can evolve your Pokemon to its next evolution state. But anyways, that's the basic formula of the Pokemon TCG. Now, I can just assume you probably don't care about how to play this game. Matter of fact, you probably never did. For most of us, the trading card game was just a collection. Back in the day, or even now, I'm sure plenty of us had Pokemon cards just in binders. We weren't actually playing the TCG, we just wanted to collect the Pokemon cards. But truth be told, that's still true to today. You can get on YouTube now and see all kinds of people still buying Pokemon cards. Now, I'm not the guy to tell someone what they do in their free time, but do you think some of the people paying these big bucks are playing the TCG? Honestly, looking at some of these numbers, these cards can be really expensive. But in reality, some of these cards aren't even playable in the TCG anyways. So what's the purpose of getting some of these Pokemon cards except to collect them? If you need an example of what I'm talking about, there's a big fish right here. Mr. Logan Paul was willing to spend just for a novelty Charizard card. Now, I'm sure we all understand that Charizard is one of the biggest Pokemon in the series, and I do understand the value of saying this is more of an investment if anything. But come on, dog, do you really think Logan Paul is playing Pokemon? Bro's too busy selling Prime for that. Now, you may be wondering what's the appeal of these Pokemon trading cards, and there's not a definite answer as to why they're so popular. People are more willing to break their back for an old Charizard card than an old video game. Well, it depends on the game, but probably not a Pokemon game. And when you think about the trading card industry as a whole, they're not even the most popular. 2 other trading card game communities that are probably bigger than Pokemon are Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic. Now, if you've never heard of Magic before, then you're just not a part of the trading card game community. Even if you don't want to believe that Magic is number 1, it's top 3 easy. So while Magic is clearing the board, the next biggest competitor is Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, there is a glaring difference why Yu-Gi-Oh! Does a little bit better than Pokemon when it comes to cards. You want to guess why? Hopefully you just understood it, but if you didn't, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is based off of a card game. Shocker, right? So of course it makes sense for Yu-Gi-Oh! To be higher up in sales for trading card games if that's the whole game period. So again, Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! Are the biggest competitors in the TCG. But that does not mean that Pokemon's TCG is not knocking on the door. The main difference between the big TCGs is how you're going to use your cards. I'm sure a lot of people are not collecting Magic cards just for the collection itself. On the other hand, Yu-Gi-Oh! Really changes when the meta changes. So your favorite elemental hero deck is not going to be good a year later. Now for Pokemon, you'll usually sit around waiting for the new EX or VMAX cards coming out. But they always repurpose these Pokemon to another type. For example, I promise you that this is not the first Umbreon they've ever made. So while Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! Will not reuse their characters, Pokemon will. So I'm just guessing most of us were a part of the TCG mainly to collect the Pokemon cards. And truth be told, you're not running the set in the game. What I mean by by that is that these young men are professionals. Nobody cares that their age may be single digits because they'll still wreck you. I do want to give them their flowers for being recognized by a $1 million company, as well as not being shook while being on a big stage like this. So moral of the story, you're not beating them. All of the TCG communities have a big level gap between somebody that's a beginner and a pro. And Pokemon might be more challenging in the TCG than it is the video games. But I do want to point out the fact that you should not ignore the TCG. And really, that's for any game, whether it be Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of us live inside a video game community now, and we went past our card days. But if you've never checked out the TCG of any community, even the Pokemon community, I promise you that that's a forgotten realm for you. So let me know if you are a part or what you think about the TCG down below. And with that, if you made it to the end of this video, consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel. Trust me, that goes a long way for YouTubers. If you want to know what's next, we just talked about Paradox Pokemon over here. So check that out. And for you anime fans, we have a specific channel for you over there. Thank you all watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.